So yeah, did it go right? I think it's recording. Better be recording. I'll be upset if it isn't. Um, no, the all the heavy lifting that you did with like, I've got this skill. What can I do on the ship during shipboard actions? Is fantastic. And honestly, you should find some place for Scum and Villainy posting shenanigans and stuff where you can share it so other people can benefit from your insight because it's solid stuff that I know I have struggled with in lots of different sci-fi games in the past. So I highly recommend it. And thank you. We are on session four. When we last left our crew, we were creeping away, so as not to draw attention to ourselves, from Warren, the moon over the gas giant Aleph. No relation to the artifact in your galley, or is there? Um, Seriously, I don't know. Is there? I don't. And creeping kind of into the system and that sort of stuff. And we are basically going into downtime. Now, the thing that we had talked about last game was sort of like how to handle this thing as we're trying to follow the cycle of the game. And uh, I have not huge beef. I have minor beef with the way that the starting thing for this particular ship is set up in the game. I like the setup, but I don't like that it kind of breaks the whole cycle that you're supposed to be getting used to by not actually giving you a job that you get paid for. And I had a little bit of beef with that. And then I was rereading stuff, and there's a bit in there where it's like never have a job, and then at the end say, oh yeah, it was a double cross, they don't pay you. If they did the work, they get paid. Don't be a dick. And that is exactly what
Except
happens.
for
And that is exactly what happens in the setup. We're gonna get yeah, but that's because like there's times you don't get paid, but it's because they don't finish the job. Like they don't. There's occasionally deals, but the people who hire them pay them usually, unless something goes really wrong and they don't actually do the job.
and
You
then they
know,
give them the money back.
like the train job, they
Well,
yeah, and they give
that's
the
good.
money back and kick a guy through the jet intake. But so this thing, like the job isn't quite. It starts you right in the middle. The job isn't right there. You don't do the engagement roles. It feels like a full mission, except you don't get paid. And I was like, well, let me see how they handle it because the one big actual play that they sort of have posted up is the author of the game playing with some other people who are very familiar with Blades in the Dark doing it, and their whole first session is just getting off the planet, kind of with somewhat the same setup as what we're doing to solve the problems lots of different ways. Um, and then kind of the next session, I said, okay, well, right, the first third of this session are probably them doing downtime, which they did, and she didn't, or sorry, Strauss didn't give him any extra. Nope, you got your credit. What do you spend it on? And which I I can see. I'm so there's two different ways we can go with this. Mike's suggestion, which I certainly think is a fine suggestion, is to say, well, let's just pretend this was a pretty low-paying job, and we'll just and call it money coming in from some other thing that was happening. And that'll get you guys a couple credit. Or we play hardball and do like what they allowed, which narratively has a lot of interesting stuff because it means you start off with a very valuable thing that you know is difficult to dump at the local pawn shop for money. Um, Very little money and probably some stuff that you need to pay for, which leaves you kind of strapped and trying to figure out what to do, which is a classic for this kind of setup. But still, I have minor beef with the setup for the campaign. That had I known more about the game, I might have, you know, done a little differently. Who knows? Who knows? Who can say?
So
I can go either way. If you guys like, no, let's be
is
those
this where
hard.
we?
The idea is we go hard Scrabble on the edges of profitability, and we don't get paid for this, and you've got one credit going into downtime, or we don't do that. We do something to say like let's give credit here and literally for the fact that you guys basically played through a whole mission without that you should have gotten paid for and didn't get paid for.
is this where we drop into the flashback of, oh yeah, before we went to Taffy's, this is where we dropped off the other thing that we'd been asked to deliver here on Warren.
Two birds with one stone kind of a deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's kind of on our way.
or it's just or it's just like you get to the first station and there's some money coming due or whatever. Um, I think I lean this. I asked the players as authors to say like, overall, where do we want these guys to be right now? Do we, because things are a little bit desperate in that you have a thing with it that mystically paints a gigantic target on your ass. Do you want, do we take it that extra notch of saying, and you're probably, one eye from darkness, as they say.
Well, that's an option. I think our ship was due for an upgrade. We could say that most of the cred we would have gotten from whatever this
All kind of went
thing
into
is,
that.
or some other related jobs, has gone to an upgrade.
Yeah, yeah, and that leaves us kind of like that. If that
the other way I was thinking about it is that when you start off, you're given a certain amount of cred to
the ship
on the ship. And I mean, in some ways that can be equivalent to your first payment.
Well, and the ship funds, there is still a credit left, which is enough to do maintenance if you guys so choose, or whatever. You've got a credit to spend on something, and given the quality of your ship, it should only cost you 1 cred for ship upkeep, so you're fine.
That's not right.
Yeah, it's
as long as you're not running out of gas.
It's the quality of the ship, which is
no. It's the systems.
Yeah, the quality. The quality of the ship systems divided by 4.
Right.
Which is and round down. You guys only have like a 5 in ship systems total.
It's not round down.
The example in the book is rounding down.
Well, your sheet is on Roll20 is saying 2. So whoever put that sheet disagrees.
All right. Let us turn in our hymnals to because I don't want to mess you guys up, but I don't want to do it wrong either. Upkeep is 176. Ship parts wear out, blah blah blah. Upkeep is system quality plus the crew quality, which is 0 for you guys, divided by 4. The example: crew of the Faraday just finished a lucrative job, blah blah blah. The Faraday has 5 in system quality, which is exactly what you guys have had. It's just different numbers. Engines 2, hull 2, communications is 1 or something, and a crew quality of 1. So they actually add up to 6. Their upkeep is therefore 1. 6 divided by 4 rounded down. It's right there.
I'm happy with that. That just means that somebody should file a bug with whoever wrote the sheets.
Where is that at? Because I'm curious now. Where is that?
I'm looking on the ship sheet, character sheet tab.
Yep.
So whole cred vault, comms, upkeep. And under upkeep it says 2. And underneath that is the tooltips and how it calculates.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, it says maybe it doesn't know how to round, and it's just like getting rid of decimal points. It doesn't
consider round.
I mean, a systems divided by crew divided by 4. How do you? See, I don't think that's calculating right because I just got rid of all the hull and it's still showing 2.
Okay, well, while we try to breathe in deep space, we'll figure it out.
Hang on.
Because the hull just went away.
Like, I change literally everything.
Hey.
And hang on. Yeah, go ahead.
No. It's not auto calculating. I just changed the number.
Oh. Well, yeah, so apparently it's round down.
Okay, good to know.
It even says it in the thing. Each downtime right after payoff, decide if you pay for the ship upkeep. Upkeep for a ship is calculated as follows, rounded down. Right before the example. So it's only 1 credit, which means you guys can weather it. In the example thing with the GM that they recorded, they had 1 cred. Repairs on the ship or upkeep on the ship was going to be 1 cred, but one of the persons. Or no, they have a galley, and they decided to buy the thing where you could do good food as one of the vices, so the whole group could like clear stress by having a big meal at the thing if you paid a credit. And she like her vice was also like luxury, or something. So she spent the cred on a whole swath of like nice food, cooked it all up for everybody, had them have the meal, had them get rid of their stress from the meal, and then told them there was no money to fix the ship, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But anyway. All right, so we will, for the sake of playing the rules as written and playing the suggested scenario startup as written, we'll just continue on our merry way and say that we had some money floating around in the thing from a previous job, and we're just going to have to kind of limp along with that. And eventually, Armin will make us all more money.
I mean, I could get us all more money now. You're just not going to like it.
Yeah, debt. No, probably. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can. I mean, by all means, get debt. But downtime is divided into 4 parts, which are resolved in order. Payoff and upkeep, which, yeah, payoff's going to be real quick. We'll worry about the rest of it in just a little bit. Upkeep, which we just discussed. And we may or may not actually decide to do upkeep. You don't necessarily need to. The deal is, and this is again, it's on page 176, 177. You get the upkeep is 1 cred to kind of, keep the ship happy, or you skip upkeep, which since you've skipped 1 upkeep, you roll out 1 6-sided dice and look at the little table at the top of page 177, which is you roll and see how things go. It's about a 50-50 chance that there's nothing wrong. There are certainly reasons that the ship could be acting up because we did some rather aggressive gravity well exiting and so forth. So I guess the real question is, do you guys want to pay for upkeep on the ship? The rest of the stuff that happens in here doesn't, as far as okay, I guess heat could be offset somewhat by money spent, but generally speaking, there isn't anything else in here where it's like, oh, if we hadn't spent that money on fixing the ship, we could use it for something else. But
so we have 1 cred. It will cost 1 cred.
Yeah,
we'll be broke, but we'll be moving.
Yep, and the ship will be nominal. There's still something else that could theoretically damage it down the road, like a little bit further in, but that's just sort of the dumb luck of flying through space because, space is constantly trying to kill you. Which is that's just a different thing. It's kind of up to you guys. What do you guys think? Thoughts, opinions?
I'm for holding on to the cred, but that's just me.
Making ship not fail seems like better plan.
It'll hold together.
That's two votes dissenting. So
come on, baby, hold together.
So yeah, is Drifter particularly invested in this one? Where
he doesn't make decisions about money, so he'll just recommend that maintenance is good. But if we're short on money, he understands.
So he's
What do you mean he doesn't make decisions about money? His vice is gambling.
That's the exact definition of not making decisions about money. You are literally letting dice decide.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a kind of decision as to what to do with your money.
Oh, that's funny.
So, so Drifter's whole thing is that the way will provide, and he just needs to. Okay, he looks at it like this. Things will float down the river, so to speak, but you need to put something into the river for it to float.
Gambling monk.
And hopefully it'll float to prosperity and good fortune.
Gambling Buddhist monk.
Wait. That's the Ferengi Great River thing.
Is it? I wouldn't know.
Yeah, it is. I love that episode where it comes up. So
that's funny. That's funny. Okay, so that's Drifter abstaining. Son, you have an opinion? Or are you staying out of it?
I mean,
because we're gonna hand wave this a little bit and say that you sort of had some, you had standard like docking fees and you chipped in the extra, deluxe car wash docking fees when you were on Warren to like have the ship, overhauled. maintenance done, that kind of thing. So it either will or won't have happened, at that point. So story-wise, it's not difficult to say where this, when this was happening. So what were you gonna say? Sorry, I stepped on you.
Oh no, it's fine. I was gonna say that, I mean, we really can't get anywhere without our ship, but I don't know.
So my point of view, tagging into that is, yes, we can't get anywhere without our ship, and once we get somewhere, we can make money. I would rather
have spent the money.
I'd rather kick the can down the road in terms of being broke than kick the can down the road in terms of having a ship that works well.
So you want to ensure that the ship is working.
Yeah, I'm used to not having money.
All right, sounds like we're doing upkeep.
All right. So that's upkeep for that. Cred's out. All right, that's all the upkeep stuff. Outcomes. The roll doesn't carry. Oh, that we don't have to worry about the outcomes thing because that didn't really happen. Heat. Procyon's full of prying eyes and informants. Anything you do might be witnessed. There's always evidence left behind. To reflect this, your crew acquires heat as they commit crimes or, get in trouble. This represents the amount of pressure the local system, police, and law authorities can bring down on your character. After a job or conflict with an opponent, your crew takes heat according to how the job played out. So, I'm just going to jeter right past the idea of it being completely quiet. And others were blamed. That's definitely not happening. The ranges for this are smooth and quiet, with very low, with sort of low exposure, contained, so pretty standard exposure, loud and chaotic, high exposure, wild and devastating exposure. I can't really see anything other than smooth and quiet with low exposure or contained with basically standard exposure.
I was thinking contained because, I mean, stuff happened.
Stuff happened. There wasn't
it was just
Yeah,
a
but-
abandoned neighborhood.
There really weren't
Yeah.
any gun battles or anything.
We never actually confronted the 51st Legion.
Wait a second. What was the thing?
Confirm that it's our Firefly.
What was the thing that drew off the 51st Legion from the front of the docking bay? What was that? What
I
did you
think
guys do?
We got out of the place quickly. That's what happened.
We called it a monster sighting on the ground. Are you talking about that?
Yeah.
No, in the sky
No,
or in the
at the-
ground?
On
at
the
the
ground.
bar?
On the ground. Yeah. No. You guys were like in a noodle shop and you just called in it. You didn't set the noodle shop on fire or anything, right?
No.
No,
There's a thing happening over at 51st and Vine, and there's this
Right.
creature. It's killing people. Ah!
And that only ever really came into like the local police and the 51st Legion. It wasn't like it was a publicized thing, and there wasn't actually anything really happening, so that's fine too.
And it's not like, yeah.
I'm
They
actually,
when they went there, nothing actually happened. So
yeah. I mean, within the 51st Legion, whoever slit the guy's throat, whoever Aya was working for. I mean, you're on their radar, but it wasn't like it really wasn't very public at all. I mean, most people that were even in that neighborhood wouldn't have known anything was really happening except they saw some guys in power armor running around. I would probably go for smooth and quiet. I'm okay with that, I think.
All right. So,
Go
real
ahead.
quick. Why are we at 3 heat already?
Because I was doing math. I was fiddling around with the character sheet.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
I should set us at 1.
Yeah,
then.
set us to 1 for now. There's still some other stuff we need to check on. There's also actions that garner additional heat and attention from the law. A high profile or well-connected target or public use of artifacts. No. Killing of hegemonic citizens. Whether the crew did the killing or not, bodies draw attention. There was a hegemony citizen killed.
But can people prove that it was us?
Well, no, that's the point. Killing of hegemonic citizens. Whether the crew did the killing or not, bodies draw attention.
That's legit.
But it's whether it can be the attention can be drawn to us.
No,
or
it's
just-
whether or not while you were there, a lot of heat was generated. Literally, and if you're looking at page 178, it's very specific to say it doesn't matter who did it. Did people get killed?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Let me look at the book.
What? Oh yeah, sorry. You should have the PDF. Anyway.
I have the aid PDF that
Oh.
has shorthand stuff.
Oh,
It's
that's
fine.
right. It's fine. But yeah,
Doesn't
it is
Can
kind
we
of
bring out a
like
copy for you when we come out?
I don't know. 2 seems
Oh
kind of
no, I
I've
wouldn't
given you
want
a
to
link.
deprive Dad of his
I've given you a link.
book.
on the
Yeah,
one.
and that's what I'm looking at. But it has the shorthand for stuff.
Oh. On the one hand, I mean, it is technically a dead dude. On the other, well, I mean, on the one hand, I'm like, well, it's only one dead dude. On the other hand, it was one dead dude in a cop bar.
Huh.
Yeah, probably it's.
I'm going to
The-
argue for less heat in that case because them admitting
That's a good point.
or creating the word that some guy died while a bunch of cops were around makes the cops look really bad.
That's true. So we'll go with 1 heat from that. I'm actually down with that. You mark heat on the sheet the job was performed in. Blah blah blah. There is one thing though. One of the roles for Armin in the bar was like adding complications that I was talking, and I think that mechanically the upshot of that role, since nothing came out in the narrative for that, was just adding a point of heat to the final, I guess outcome from the whole thing.
Was that a devil's bargain?
No, it was the consequences of like a 4-5 when you were like trying to get the cops not to pay any attention to you. Is like they're not going to pay attention to you now, but there's going to be heat later. Because you were like,
I'm okay with that for the same reasons that were mentioned earlier. Like
yeah.
the cops are like, we don't like people making us look bad.
Wait a minute. It was that booth? That was the one. That was that mother. He was the one that bought all of our drinks. I remember what that guy looks like. Pull the security tapes. I want to know exactly what that guy. In fact, let's look and see what all those guys. So yeah, that was the idea of the 4-5. I'd have to go back through the thing, but I remember that. I mean, I have been going back and kind of checking to see what that was. I think, but we're going down on that, but plus one on that. So I think that comes out to 3. So if we go to the systems and factions, which there was a couple I was fiddling around with just making see how the sheet works. So we're still end up at 3 heat there in RIM. And the other stuff that is also affected, since we're on the systems and faction sheet, there's some stuff in here that GM's supposed to do with regards to how factions are reacting to you. And it's kind of the only 2 I'm going to fiddle with right now is 51st Legions. Your status with 51st Legion is going to drop to a -1. Basically because you got away from them, and the people that they answer to, who sent them to take care of things, are unhappy with them, and they're kind of, you're the face for their disgruntlement at being made to look bad for getting away. I say so easily, but whatever. So they're not going to like you, at least going forward. Meanwhile, and this is a very interesting, I'm doing this sort of in a representational fashion, but the Cult of the Seekers is going to go up by 1 with you guys. Not because they specifically know it's you. In fact, I have a countdown. I have a faction countdown clock for them of trying to figure out who was involved in this thing. But whoever it is, in their mind, whoever it is that has this artifact that they're desperately interested in finding, and who also kept it away from the 51st Legion, whoever hired the 51st Legion, and House Malkaith, they like you. Conceptually. They don't know who you are. But if they ever put you together with them, you will automatically inherit a +1 relationship with the Cult of the Seekers. So for right now, I'm just putting it on there for the sake of bookkeeping. Whoever you guys are, masked strangers, we like you a lot, and would probably be pretty happy to meet you face to face.
I think we need to
especially if you bring the artifact with
List
you.
of the fact.
If you look at the character sheet that's called Systems and Factions, if you click on that Systems and Factions character sheet, which everybody should be able to do, and click on the character sheet itself, it shows the systems and what the heat level is in the various systems. And then the factions, it's not all the factions, it's the factions that matter to you guys, or that you matter to them, or they're like with Echo Wave.
My problem is that like I need the cheat sheet to what each of these is.
Right. So
I've been keeping the list on the forums of
Right.
the factions that we're involved with. That's the PCs and NPCs list. If there's a faction that becomes relevant, I'll try to put it up there. But if you refer to that, that should hopefully summarize kind of what who we're keeping track of. If we want to expand on like what we know about those guys or anything like that, we can edit that page as well.
Now, at the risk of breaking this, I'm going to do something here. Keep looking at the systems and faction sheet. Now, this only has the ones that matter, but if you really want to, you can hit generate factions. I'm pretty sure this is what this. Yeah, it fills in with all the ones that are in there. Okay. Like it fills in with all the ones that currently like exist, and it keeps our values up there at the top. And I don't think there's any. I think conveniently they don't get. Now, what's cool about this is, for the sake of, right, so if you see there, if you hit the little arrow next to these guys, I didn't do it on all of them, but on a few of them, I've put in notes on either the faction in general, like cribbed out of the PDF, or what we found out about them while we were doing our character and crew generation. So, in terms of crib notes, you can actually put it right in here in the character sheet, if that helps, which I think it does.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can get it right in here and you know, just copy paste stuff. I'm going to clean out some of the ones here that just don't matter because I don't need that much extra crap in here. But I hit the wrong one. Ah, bugger. Which one did I clean out?
Is there an undo?
No. I clicked too greedily and too deep or something. Who did I leave out?
Did you save before you started changing it?
You can't do that in here. It's a thing. Who did we have in the hegemony that we cared about?
We're going to have to go to the tapes.
Have to go to the tapes. I'll go back and figure it out later. Don't anybody click on any of it until I'm done deleting. Cleaning out. The page jumped and I ended up clicking on one I shouldn't have clicked on. Anyway, but they're in here, and the little drop down arrow does make it really nice for sort of keeping notes on people or who the NPC, you know, who's our NPC contact with this guy, with this particular, you know, faction that we've dealt with in the past, stuff like that. So like the night speakers aren't anybody in you guys necessarily care about. They're just creepy and are going to care about the stuff that you guys are doing. For example, Echo Wave Riders aren't technically a faction you guys have any connection with, except they're connected to two other factions that you guys care about, both pros and cons, and they're racers. So Drifter cares. I just realized I cleaned that out. I'm going to have to fiddle with it again. All right, let me just, Church of the Stellar Flame, no, Stars Fail. Oh, it was the Cult of the Seekers. That's who I deleted by accident. Hang on.
Oh.
Cult of the Seekers
just bumped up.
Yeah, the one I just bumped up was in there. So, okay, nobody touch anything. I'm going to get it all cleaned out of here. Which is annoying to me now because I put in all the stuff from the Cult of the Seekers and then deleting it, I deleted my notes, but whatever. Put them in there. Like so. And done. All right. So yeah, it can be done pretty well there. Wanted level, you don't have wanted levels. Yay.
Yet.
It's just like leveling. As soon as the heat hits the top peak, then you guys are wanted. And you can work that off. You can also use downtime to like reduce the heat in a system.
Whoever would do that.
The person who has to make deals with people and can't be.
The person who has the special ability to take an extra downtime action for to reduce heat.
Do you have that?
I do.
That's handy.
It is the base speaker ability.
Do you have to spend creds on that, or is it just a thing?
No,
That's
it's
nice.
an extra downtime action.
Very, very cool. I like that. All right, so wanted level, clearing heat and wanted levels. We already, kind of talked about that. Entanglements. Your characters and crew didn't just spring into existence tonight. That was 5 nights ago. You have a complex history of favors, commitments, debts, promises that got you where you are today. To reflect this, after each job, you will roll dice to find out which entanglement comes. I am instantly done with the faction sheet, so if people want to fiddle with it, I will stop clicking things. After each job, you roll dice to find out which entanglement comes calling. An entanglement might be a rival crew looking to throw their weight around to demand some cred, assistant police officer making a case against your crew but ready for a bribe, or even the attention of a strange way creature. After payoff and heat are determined, the GM generates an entanglement for the crew using the list below. Find the column that matches the crew's current wanted level, then roll a dice to select which sort of entanglement manifests. So one quick question while we're thinking about stuff and doing things. Where are we going, or what are we doing?
If we're gonna do downtime,
If you're gonna do downtime's gonna be coming next, and if you want to reduce heat in Rin, you need to not be in Rin. You can't reduce heat in a system that you're still in.
I would like to suggest we go and encounter our bartender buddy.
So we need to kind of figure out where the hell he's at. Where do we want him? I'm fine with wherever. What is Indri? I'm just looking at the next system down the road.
It's in Yoda, which is a system away.
How did you pronounce it? I would have said Iota.
Yeah, Iota.
But I can see Yoda.
I'm looking at a lot of Latin and Greek these days.
Okay.
Ooh, it has 2 suns.
Oh yeah, cool. Indri. Okay, I got to go to the thing here. Somebody else.
Indri is.
And if we're gonna have a planet full, we're gonna have a system full of strange alien creatures, it should be named Yoda.
Yeah,
it should.
Indri is the manufacturing center. 25% of all goods manufactured in the Prycon sector come from this incredibly industrialized planet.
So it's Jita.
Yeah, it's.
Thick rust-colored clouds.
You know an awful lot about Eve, Bill. I'm looking at you kind of sideways over here.
I used to play.
Oh, did you?
I did too.
Oh.
I just didn't have enough time in the.
Yeah.
Ever.
It should be the draw is always yeah, you hardly even have to pay any attention to it. Yeah, but you do. You really.
I had an orca and a full mining gang at one point, and we were just making money. But we got war decks by somebody, and we just were like, okay. And then real life happened, so that it kind of fell apart.
I had an orca too. Then I had the orca number 2, and I had the orca number 3. I had the orca number 4. I think I had 6 orcas. The problem being that I kept taking them into combat situations, which they're not technically supposed to be used for. And by technically, I mean at all. But they were really good at collapsing wormholes, so I used them anyway. Anyway, Indri, Lithios. What's Lithios? I gotta get over to the thing.
Lithios
Ice
is.
palace dot the surface of the frozen planet.
I don't like that.
Ooh, weird 3.
I mean, I like it, but I don't like it for this necessarily. Weird 3, huh?
Yep, and Amarith is. Amarath?
Garden planet with a mendicant temple in the ruins. The moon's gap, a shattered moon that rings the planet. That's a good name for the. That's a good name. Thick clouds, surface of your city, or toxic industrial. Either cities or toxic industrial.
Sounds like a good place for a bar.
It does sound like a good place for a bar. It also sounds a really good place to be missed. Not. I mean, I was originally looking at the space station that's in Rin, but if you guys want to clear heat, that's contraindicated. So we'll go over to.
So are you leaning towards Amarath or
I think
Indiri?
I think Indri.
it's got a higher syndicate level, so that might be more in keeping with
Yeah,
Definitely a good place for a bar.
yeah, yeah,
high tech, high syndicate with a tick of wealth.
yeah. And it's a question of you. I mean, certainly there's places like Voss with lots of wealth, but you know.
You don't want lots of wealth. I mean, you want to have enough.
Well, I'm thinking in terms of like moving the artifact, but I don't know that you guys necessarily want to move the artifact right away anyway until you figure out where you want to move it to, because it's not
Well,
like I said, you can drop it at any pawn shop that you want. You're not going to get its worth. You know, that's the truth.
I am not thinking that dropping artifact off is what we should be doing.
We've talked about the how the thing is sort of like this weird multi-dimensional folding, origami thing. I was watching The Good Place, which incidentally, from just a philosophical good, bad, what is the nature of humankind as a half-hour sitcom, is literally a show that cannot be matched. It's so smart. But Dave, I highly recommend it for you, especially. You would love this show. But there was a bit in there where they were like someplace they really shouldn't be, where humans should not be, like an interdimensional space, and one of the guys kind of accidentally stepped through a pothole and fell through time and space for a little bit. And somebody pulled him back out, and he's like, I saw a trillion different realities as thin as wafers of steel folded an infinite number of times. And one of the interdimensional beings is like, yeah, the time knife. We've been there. Moving on. And it's like, no, I'm not moving on from the time knife. But the whole folding metal thing immediately made me think of the artifact and the whole origami folding thing. Yeah, the time knife. We got it. So are we feeling Indri? Is that where we're gonna drop our bartender down?
I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
All right.
Uh-huh.
Also, contact-wise, it may be useful. I'm just throwing this out here because I got thinking about today. It may be useful to reach back to Katani, who I think this pings you guys if I say show to players.
Yep.
We can see
Yeah.
it.
She was the one who originally set you guys up with the job to pick up the case and deliver the case. So she might be useful. If you decide to go
Dead.
I've got crosshairs on all of your, favorite NPCs, but gotta at least have her say something cryptic first. Anyway, so Cunningham for Endry. I just wanted to kind of get that sorted out there before we get much further in terms of like what all we're doing and stuff. And part of that relates to narrating what might happen with, as we see on page 180, entanglements. So entanglements is actually really, really simple. It's just like what they call a fate die roll. You just I'm just going to roll a d6. Is there an entanglements button on one of the sheets? I feel like there is. Maybe? I don't know.
If there would be, it would be
Probably be the
on-
ship, right? Or
Yeah.
the factions?
No, it's on the factions.
It is or is not?
Is not.
Is not. Contacts, cruise ship upgrades.
No, the closest you have is the roll fortune button on the ship.
Oh, where's that at? I'll use that.
It's under contacts.
Below.
Excuse
Oh
me.
yeah, roll fortune. There we go. Roll fortune number of dice is 1 because you were only wanted 1. No,
Or not even wanted one.
You're wanted 0. Sorry. Entanglements. Submit. There's a little die roll, and let me jump back over to this thing. And scroll. Fortune 2, which is a big fat nothing, I think. Maybe. Gotta get back over the sheet. Ooh, I love it. I love it. That's so good. Okay. So, I forgot this one. This one isn't the damage to the ship thing. This is like something happens here no matter what happens. All right. This is perfect. All right. Oh, this is really, really, really good. Okay. So and I'm not really making you guys roll to get to like injury or anything like that because we're kind of in downtime, and we've already gotten past the threats so much, as they stand. Are there any downtime activities? So the deal with downtime is everybody should get 2 free downtime activities. Some of you may have an ability on your sheet that gives you an additional downtime ability, or some downtime ability that isn't typically listed, or something that you may also want to. I just saw the your moves will snowball image. That's pretty good. I like it. Is there anybody who has like a downtime activity that they want to kind of engage in that they can do, that they would be doing or want to do or can do or whatever, like on the ship before we even get to the planet of injury? Because you're looking at, to get across Rin, you're looking at a couple different hyperlanes that you're going to probably use
Uh,
to get to the gate, and then from the gate getting over to injury is probably another hyperlane or two, depending on how much you want to stay below radar.
I do.
Okay.
Hmm.
Anybody else? I want to make sure we've got things that you guys would be. And I don't know. So you have the thing that lets you reduce heat, which you may or may not be doing right now.
I am not,
Okay.
because
So
we haven't left the system.
right. And the options for downtime activities, if you don't have stuff, is acquiring assets, which probably doesn't make sense on the ship at the moment. Craft, which may or may not. Indulging in vice, it really kind of depends on what you do, on what vice you want to indulge. There's probably ways to indulge, at least a few of them here. Lay low, that's waiting until we get out of the system. Some long-term project that you want to start up. Recover, which is what, healing? What is that? I gotta look at that one.
It's getting rid of harm.
Oh, getting rid of harm, which we don't have. Repairing stuff on the ship, and the ship's not really damaged right now. And training, which you can use to, like, actually just say, I want to do this and get XP. So, anybody have stuff that you want to be doing, or narratively speaking, makes sense to be doing whilst you are on the ship and in transit?
I think we already discussed that I'm going to indulge in at least one of my vices.
Which is the poking the
For the way.
poking the nuclear bomb. Well, no, not the nuclear bomb. Poking the scary glowy thing with a stick.
I think of more as like, the amateur mechanic who disassembles the toaster and puts it back together again.
To figure out how it works, or in this case, is like doing like charcoal rubbings on the etchings on the side of the thing and trying not to rub the Jane's lamp by accident.
And comparing it to, all of my different resources.
So what's your what is your vice? How is your vice written? I should be looking at that. The vice was like what was the vice that you picked? Weird.
Then pleasure, which is seeking artifacts. So pleasure is more of the kind of more planet bound.
Acquiring the thing.
Yeah, walking down through the black market and, on things that aren't necessarily going to keep me safe.
Where? I can't. Oh, yeah, vice. Weird, explore the way, pleasure seeking. So exploring the way. Yeah, so that's really kind of you poking around the thing, which is probably an attune roll or something along those lines, I think. Or study. Could be either one. Probably attune. Probably an attune, since you don't actually have like a bunch of resources to resort to right there. Did anybody else have stuff they want to be doing while we're flying?
Yeah, I can do some training.
Yeah, I was looking at some training too.
I was also going to do training.
A lot of people are doing stuff. Cool.
Everybody wants to spar.
So
That sounds
really
like
quick,
a great idea.
before we start training,
Uh-huh.
we also have the ship upgrade,
Oh yeah.
and that can help our training.
Ooh, yeah, depending on what we wanted to do with it. Yeah, so the ship up. I'm gonna go back to the ship. Do do do. Or
I
did-
threw this into the Scum and Villainy last week, but I don't know how far back that is.
Oh, into the chat thing.
Ah, yes. Page 51 in the book.
I will dial to page 51 in the book.
It's an advance can be an additional crew special ability,
Oh,
2 ship upgrades, 1 ship quality, or 1 crew quality. If we raise crew quality, it's going to cost us 4 cred,
which we don't flat out have.
which we
so
don't have. So
that's
that
true.
one's off the table.
Yep. I do remember you saying this.
Yeah. But if we pick up, I don't know, 1 or 2 of the
Garrett, I
training
just
things.
remembered. You're the person I should have been listening to when you said, no, we should just keep that credit now.
Well, 1 credit wouldn't have been enough for this anyway.
No, but having an idea of like
what to spend the money on
versus things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Crew advancement. At the end of the session, review the crew. So we got all that. Crew XP. It's on 51? Oh, yeah. Okay. Crew special ability. So an additional. Now, the crew special abilities are things like getaway, cargo eye, field repairs,
Uh-huh.
leverage, just passing through, home cooking, problem solvers. Okay. This is the thing. You just read it off. I'm just trying to figure out which is which. Oh, so 2 ship upgrades is any 2 boxes amongst ship modules or crew and ship upgrades. So things like raising hull, raising engines, comms, things like that.
Yeah. Or the AI module, the armory, the brig, training.
Wait.
I'll be honest, I'm paralyzed by choice here, so
yeah.
I'm looking to both Mike and Armin on what would be a good idea.
Personally,
2 ship upgrades of the boxes, 1 ship quality. Wait, I'm confused. I'm
ship
confused.
quality is increasing the
boxes of hull and weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The ship upgrades are the modules that are further down, like
the crew and ship upgrades in the bottom corner.
So
middle
column.
So
smuggler rigging, armory, brig, ship gear, any of that stuff. So you can get one of those or 2 of those. 2 of those.
2 of those.
2 of those.
No, personally, I think picking up the training upgrades early is nice because it gets you more XP in the long run.
Nice.
So,
and that is
Bill and Dave, what kind of training were you guys thinking of doing?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Because
which one is that? Is that the?
It's the training. It's the middle column, left-hand side, bottom, to the left of crew gear.
You pick which one. You pick which kind of training you're good at. I see.
Yeah.
So are you talking like mechanically or fictionally? I mean, mechanically, I was looking.
Mechanically.
Okay, I was planning to put points into prowess-based skills.
Okay, so Dave, how about you?
Same thing.
Okay, so if we take our 2 points and we put it into prowess and personal,
that lets you
gain more personal XP.
I love, because that, I mean, I don't, depending on what Drifter was actually going to put points into, I love the idea of Little Drifter and Big Monster like sparring in the, like moving the table off to the side in the galley and sparring. But that's not
this is where we hang up like a boxing or like a
heavy
boxing,
bag
or a punching bag, in like the cargo area.
Yeah, or anything like that. Because no one will spar with Monster. If no one spars with Monster, at least he can punch a big bag. Duffel bag with his own stuff in it.
So many lessons to provide.
And what is that? What is the actual knock on like?
Oh, when we do training,
yeah.
Instead of getting 1 XP, we get 2 XP for those particular things.
Very nice. I like that. You're right. That is super effective.
Getting them early and often are very nice.
All right, so I'm going to zero out the XP in the playbook advancement. I'm assuming that you're asking for personal because you want to get some XP in the personal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. So Marge is going to be poking the ancient artifact with a stick. I say with love, you know. We got 3 people training. Well, so we very mechanically said prowess, but what do you want to be doing, Drifter? Like, what are you aiming at, or what does your training look like?
So there's 2 things that he wants to get done, and I want to use this to introduce some background as well.
Okay, cool.
So ship propulsion technology here includes a bunch of factors, but one of those is this mixture of catalysts, and they're these chemical or weirdly physical dilithium crystals, enzymes in the engine or whatever, but they all are kind of named after colors. So there's normally a red, green, and blue mixture that you put together at some ratio, and the ratio depends on what you want to do. And the red is basically an energy catalyst, green is for energy efficiency, and blue is kind of a damper. So effectively, you have power, speed, and stealth.
Okay.
And so what happens is that most ships have a regular mix that is recommended for them. Like the manufacturer says, if you're using our ship within specifications, please use this. Real ship captains do their own mixture based on, among other things, wear and tear on their engine, the actual weight of the cargo, how the cargo is distributed amongst the ship, and a bunch of other things. And there's a lot of math that goes behind it. So what Drifter is doing the math for his particular ship at this particular time with this crew, and saying, I'm going to do some more research into this stuff and get it online, get basically like what's going on currently on the forums and what people are talking about doing. And so he's kind of using this as a chance to brush up on how to tune his ship. The other thing he's doing is rerunning simulations of our getaway, and he feels that like if we're going to be facing the 51st Legion again, which seems likely, we've got this weird artifact in the background. I would like to know how they maneuver, how we maneuvered. Can we be more unpredictable? Can I determine any patterns in their response to us taking off?
Sure, yeah.
He's basically just going to replay that a bunch of times and just watch and see would there have been something better we could have done.
So the idea here, just kind of looking at you're dumping into prowess because it could apply to helm, it could apply to scramble.
It'll probably go to helm realistically.
Yeah, realistically.
With 2 XP, I've actually got enough now that I could increase helm.
Really?
I think so. I got 4 XP, but my understanding was that.
Oh yeah, you've got the playbook.
Yeah, my understanding was that you could spend those points pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because you could take the 4 that are down below, and that would fill out your prowess. And is that right? I'm Mike, double check that. That seems right to me.
Your end of session ones you can put anywhere. So
he could just take the 4 that taps out prowess and lets him raise helm. There's nothing special there about any of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I believe it's just 1 tick.
1 tick is good. I'll take it.
Yeah, I was about to say 1 tick in this game is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So that takes your helm to 3, which is like basically as high as it can go, which is phenomenal. So that's you working on that stuff. That's awesome. So that's and disappointing for Munster because he occasionally gets to get in there and scrap, and he's busy reading and cached forum posts. I don't even know what that is. Why would you need a post? We're on the ship. All this other kind of stuff. And so, but what are you? What is?
I will throw Dave something if he wants.
Okay.
Drifter's got this simulation of the ships up in the tank, and they're weaving and dodging, and Monster can punch at the ships.
If that's what I don't. What were you? So we said prowess in general, but what were you looking at training up?
Yeah,
like, ultimately.
I was actually.
Or what are you
busy.
practicing?
Yeah, I was actually busy looking up the individual stats here and looking through the rules and not getting to the pages that I need to get to. So
The stuff under prowess is helm, scramble,
Yeah.
scrap,
Scrap
and skulk. Yeah.
Um,
Which, can I just say for just a minute, because you know, we're currently around the house reading anime, or sorry, uh, My Hero Academia manga because we've run out of anime to watch, and that's apparently, running out of anime is the gateway drug to manga. But there's a bit in there with like the main big hero who's from America rather than Japan, where it's like, it's true, he's drawn in a completely different style. It's a very good fourth wall breaking that was very unexpected. Anyway, but there's a bit in there is like, since Monster is the one who's drawn in a completely different style from everybody else, walking around. I just love the idea of him training Skulk by like creeping around the ship, surprising people, like for no freaking reason.
oh,
Like,
he
blah!
already has a tick in it, and it really is that, the person is saying something and he gets that tap on the shoulder or is suddenly aware of something very large hulking up behind him. Hello.
Oh God, don't. Between that and oh God, Drax. I am moving so slowly that I am completely invisible. We can see you right there. So slowly. Anyway.
So yeah, I was
just curious, like from just a narrative point of view, like what exactly is sort of happening with him? Like what is he up to?
actually, you know what?
That is exactly the picture I was thinking of, James. Thank you.
Uh-oh.
So,
For the record, I was looking for it before you mentioned.
really, that's
I was too.
just
Ha.
Because as soon as we start talking about weird guys trying to be stealthy,
it's Drax, Invisible Drax.
Well, in that case, I feel like I need to be practicing my skulk, and
And it's hilarious to imagine you practicing your skulker on the ship and just constantly unnerving people.
well, the fact that he's already actually not
Terrible at it.
not unskilled at it
Yeah.
makes it somewhat less amusing or somewhat more entertaining.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, it's funnier if they're constantly like, "Yuck, stop that." It's great.
Or alternately, sometimes I can hear you.
Yeah. Ugh.
I just think somebody coming around the corner and seeing him teeth first would be amazing, though. That's
So good. Okay, so that I just clicked on the sheet myself since I was in there, and put the 2 XP up in the thing. Now, if you want, you in the same way that Drifter did, you can cycle your general XP sort of into the specific. Oh wait, did I put it in there? I thought I did.
I don't see it.
Let me click again.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now I see it.
So you've got the 2 in there. You don't have enough down in the playbook, general XP, lower down and to the left, to get you up to 6. But should you so desire, you can. They cycle up at the when you need them.
Right.
So that's all fine and good. Armin, what are you doing?
sorry, did you say Armin?
Yes, Armin, what are you doing?
Aaron, I heard, what are you doing? I was like, I hope that was me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
I am thinking this is Armin, like, on a call before we go through the gate.
Did you have an advance already? Because you only have like 1 XP in here.
That's after my rollover for the XP.
Oh, I
the
see.
training.
Because you knew the train was happening. Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And it's him on the phone just being like, okay, now just set up all of these accounts this way. I know that none of that makes any sense to you, but trust me, it'll pay dividends later. So I'm gonna be dark for 72 hours or however long it takes to get through a gate and get into another system.
Yeah.
Have that all ready, forward it over to over to my concerns and injury, and I'll get back to you then. Okay.
Okay. So he's just kind of moving and shaking and doing his thing. I was curious. I was going to ask, like, who immediately pings your radar as, like, might be interested in the crap that you have going on right now. but it seems like we
Um,
may learn about that unless you.
Well, we did that while we were escaping from
Yeah.
Warren.
Oh yeah. Well, it was.
It was in the background.
Yeah, right. It was in the background. We didn't get to see who it was though, did we?
It was the night speakers.
Oh right, the night speakers. Yeah.
Because everybody was like, or
Oh,
at least you were.
that's why. Well, yeah. No, but I was laughing about it because I had put the night speakers on the faction board. Did you?
That was what inspired me to pick them.
Oh, honestly, if that's true, I should probably do something with the night speakers too. But I think I might leave them at 0 just because they're playing it a little bit more closely to the vest, and they're not actually as far. The that one other group that I mentioned are the ones that are really nutball for the artifacts that have to do with opening gates. Night speakers just like artifacts, and they have a couple of specific.
Oh, the Sun Eaters or whatever.
No, the Sun Eaters want to like rediscover how to make gates, and for that they're willing to kill a sun. The Seekers of something or other. Went on my head 1 second.
The one that the mom's involved
Yeah,
with.
the cult of the Seekers are the ones who like very specifically want to reopen the Holt Gate. Like boom, that is their. It's not their only thing, but it's definitely one of their stated things. She's the mom of not this local duke, but the actual like hegemon, like the guy from the core worlds who's currently running everything. So at some level, at some social level, she vastly outranks the duke who's in charge of this sector because she's like the queen mother, sort of. And this guy's like a backwater duke at best, or maybe a high-ranking baron. So she doesn't have any official pull, except she has all the official pull if she needs it. That's it. You can't,
and wasn't it her interest in it that raised that particular cult to
it's what makes them
normalized status?
Yeah, it's what makes that cult an actual official hegemonic cult as opposed to just some fringe thing that's being hunted down. So yeah, there's definitely a lot going on there. But Cult of the Seekers were the ones who were like very pro, like specifically what you guys are about. Night Speakers, like, they're more of a local hometown kind of sociopaths cults that are obsessed with artifacts, not sociopaths. That would be me.
I wouldn't say that they're. I would say that theirs is sort of more in keeping with the, sort of I'm building a better self. I'm incorporating the technology into myself so I can live forever and be this awesome.
That is definitely how they would. That's definitely how they would present it to people. There are certainly people.
But if you think about it, like now, like the body modders.
Sure, yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing at all. There's a positive and a negative spin to it. You have chosen the positive one, and I don't disagree with that. But I wouldn't disagree with the negative one either. I'm easy that way. So that's Armin doing his stuff and doing his training, and also like doing a little bit of hobnobbing and stuff like that. I don't think not any real rolling that has to happen with any of that kind of stuff.
By the way, Joyce, are you okay with me taking that special ability that we talked about last time?
Remind me, it was 2 weeks ago.
It was a little something on the side from Blades, which was at the end of each downtime phase, you get 2 stash.
2 stash, not creds. It goes straight into the stash. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I am as fine with that. I'll future me may kick past me's butt over it, but I very much doubt that that's going to happen very much. Generally speaking, future me has got more on his mind. So yeah, write it. Is there some place you can write it down and actually have it written?
Oh yeah, no. You can add special abilities to your list.
Oh, great. Love it. Perfect.
Just like I reordered mine because I wanted all the ones I actually took at the top.
Very cool. No, it's good. Oh yeah, look at that. Very cool. All right, nice. Sun, did you have anything you want to do while you were on the ship? You could theoretically indulge your vice. Have the means.
Yeah, but
do you have any stress?
I have 1 stress.
Yeah, that's kind of a risky
risk
maneuver.
is greater than the. I was also planning on training.
Oh, really? What were you going to train?
I was looking at training like insight.
Insight. Very cool. There's no reason you can't train those. The ship's not going to help you with that. Um, give you the extra thing, but you can. It's still XP is XP. Um, so what's that look like? What's the insight training look like as far as that goes?
Um,
Are you reading up? Are you?
it's going back through a journal that I kept of some of the uh, insight given to me by past patients.
Oh, okay. Very cool. Any particular types of things, diseases, physical injuries?
No, like their experiences.
Oh, okay. All right. So you've actually had like I don't want to say psychological, but you've had some conversations, personality study kind of stuff you've taken notes on with these guys that you like are also
Yeah.
kind of mining for information and whatnot.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. I like it. I like it. They aren't just patients. They're also information about where treasure might be buried or something.
that's literally the starting ability for Stitch.
You may study malady wounds or cry. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not a. You push yourself to roll your doctor rating while performing a different action. Say which patient, research, or posting taught you this trick. That's awesome and well spotted. And I totally missed it. I'm very bad. Bad GM. All right. So that's
So,
yes. Keep going.
sorry, question. Oh, never mind, you did it already.
Yeah, I just pinged it. I just pinged the insight there. So that'll get you within one of getting the XP that you need to actually level that up, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Over to K. Because you are poking at the artifact, right? And that for you that means what you're really doing functionally is doing doing your vice roll, which is totally fine. I gotta close up. Oh, it is K. All right, never mind.
You're on mute.
There's a button for that.
There's a button for what? Oh,
Indulge
indulging.
vice.
Oh, nice. All right, there is. True. And I'm gonna have that button. I'm gonna use that button here in a second. But I actually want to. Let me see. Do the attune thing first, or do the indulge vice thing? Because I mean, you are messing with the thing. I think there's probably something to be had out of just doing an attune and seeing how that works. Seeing what you might pick up out of it.
I mean, because my vice is actually, explore the way.
Yeah.
And in the way I describe it, if you sort of think about, it's gonna sound funny, but it's almost like transcendental meditation.
Yeah.
The idea is that you know, are kind of slowly divorcing yourself of outside influences so that you can actually see the way.
Nice. I like it.
And it's a vice because you're pulling yourself away from yourself, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, absolutely. All right.
So where that would overlap with something like a tune is looking at the flow around the device
Mm-hmm.
and trying to understand it. Quite putting your finger in the socket, kind of.
Yeah. Okay. So
just so you know why this is important to him,
yeah.
It's sort of, like I said, his holy grail or his guffin, is to kind of find that Dead Sea Scrolls, that codex
Right.
that helps unlock the bridge to the past,
Right.
and so it's not for self-aggrandizement. It's to
Yeah.
unlock that.
Just so you don't accidentally get jacked up by something going wrong and you picking up more stress, I'm going to have you indulge your vice first, and then we'll worry about the attune, because you are indulging your vice. Let's get the stress out of the way, and then we'll see what the attune thing does. So there is, as Mike pointed out, there's an indulge vice button sort of dead center in the middle of your character sheet, and that automatically picks your lowest stat and rolls it. And you get to subtract 4 from your stress that you currently have, which gets you down to 2. Is that right?
2. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice, very nice.
Indulge was because.
Yeah, you're safe. You can't really, you don't have to worry about ending up with an over. You can't overdo it, which is nice. You can't overindulge at this point with your total.
It's a nice level.
It's a good level to be at, unless you're still in the middle of the mission. In which case, it's a worrisome one to be at. If you
no, remember you were just telling me that's where all the fun comes in.
Yeah, well, not so much in this one, because this is trauma, and you start picking up these crazy. None of those traumas are very good. I mean, they're fine, they're fun, but a few of them are like, yikes, yikes. Okay, so that's happening, and let's have that. We'll do the attune roll too. So if you would click on attune for me and see where that one's going, and I'm gonna.
Do we
Hey,
want to
Joyce?
say the position is on this?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Do you have a danger in mind?
I do. Well, I kind of have a danger that's already happening. So what? So we had the entanglements that are happening from the ship, and I don't know if you guys actually looked at the thing, but I rolled a 2, which is was it Lost in the Black or something like that. So there's way creatures that have been attracted to the ship, and the risk, I think, the risk in this has to do with that particular entanglement sort of staging up sort of in threat level. Right now, the sort of potency of the thing is sort of like a potency 0, because it's sort of based on the system that you're in and what your wandered level is. There's a risk here of it being more troublesome due
Getting
to
off a
the
beacon.
yeah, due to the fact that they are way creatures, and you're fiddling with a gate activating artifact.
We wouldn't necessarily know that
Is,
issue has arisen.
No, you wouldn't. It isn't like it is.
Entanglements are unknown.
Well, sometimes yes, sometimes no. In this case, I'm not saying like, no, Kay knew about this and decided to poke the artifact with way creatures around anyway. No, this was a I wanted to
coincidence.
Well, and what I'm doing, and the reason I wanted to kind of go through some of the downtime, see what you guys were doing, is I wanted to see the activity around the ship. As
Just wanted to know where everybody was by the time
And I'm actually going to look for a little. There's a picture up here I want to see. I want to see 3 below bugs. Maybe I can get this picture that I really want. Maybe. I know the thing I want to use, and I'm not. Like for an image? What are we laughing about? What did I miss?
Bill's image.
Oh, I gotta go look at this now. Ka-chow. I know exactly the things I want, but of course that's the one there are not nearly enough screenshots from 3 Below floating around the internet right now. So I need good. Oh, that'll work maybe. Sort of. Yeah, that'll kind of work. All right. So while we've been, so the scenes of we kind of just got a picture of what's going on in the ship. You know, we've got Drifter's kind of up in the cockpit, and he's like running simulate. There's like a little display up there where he's like messing with, he's reading, because generally speaking, when you're on like hyperlanes, unless you've got one of the ship upgrades, you're kind of reading probably cached. You know, you hit a planet, cache like the last 2 weeks worth of upload and save the last 2 weeks worth of forum stuff, so you can like write your replies, and then the next time you sync up, it'll, you know, send or whatever. Comparing that to current like fuel levels and mixes and stuff on like a thing where he's like virtually grabbing these little bars and sliding up and down, and then like looking at the virtual displays and monsters sort of creeping around various places. Son reading, reading his room and flipping through things, sort of checking stuff and looking at notes. Armin, it's like, no, not, yeah, I know you're, yes, I know I'm breaking up. We'll be back. No, it'll be fine. Just make sure you move the funds and we'll both be a lot richer later and a lot happier. Just hello. So this kind of stuff happening. And in the background of these scenes, you get shots like where it's like being shot like over a console at, the shot is like looking at Drifter, but kind of over a console in the cockpit, and you see like an insect creeping along on the backside of the console that kind of looks like, this is not exactly what I had in mind, but it works reasonably well. Where it's like weird buggy thing crawling around, kind of glowing softly, not really drawing attention to itself because the glow in a lot of, in most cases kind of matches that same tone and color, and you as the LEDs and various other console lights and stuff like that. In fact, you can see a couple situations where like they're coming out of like maybe a crack in the console, a different color, and as they get closer to the LED lights, they shift tone to match. I wanted the little cockfighting cockroaches that they use in this one animated show 3 Below, but I can't find them anywhere. But that gives you the general idea. And so we're getting shots of that like that with Drifter, or shot where one I particularly like. Sun is like walking along, like walking through the ship, facing the book, not really paying attention to anybody, walks down the hallway, and the camera stays on one patch of the hall, of the passageway, as he walks past, and then as he walks past, you see Monster's eyes open up and his smile because Sun walked right by him and didn't notice, and he steps out of the niche that he'd sort of tucked himself into, and behind him on the wall in the niche are a couple more of the bugs, like now moving out of the way, and moving, same thing kind of in Sun's room, like he picks up a book and is turning away from it, and there was like one of these things underneath of it, and I feel like I'm forgetting. Oh, Armin. I don't know what would be going on in Armin's room that would give us kind of a shot of this sort of thing. I don't think there's actually any in his room, but it's when we're like, not, I say room. He doesn't have a room. Where are you at?
No
Like,
need to
where are you
dwell.
having this conversation? Is it in the galley?
The comms room.
Oh, in the right. We've got to, let me get the map up here. I want to see what this looks like. Did I do?
We have a solarium?
We have a solarium?
Yeah, because before somebody said cryo chamber stuff, I was like,
Well, yeah, the only thing for
this
really,
looks like a conference room.
yeah, I mean, the idea was that like you don't have like cabins, you just have like cryo tubes. It's like I really can't stand you people right now, so I'm just gonna go and I'd rather be frozen. But this right back here looks like that looks like the comm center to me. I mean, if that's cool. Also, it's kind of way out of the. Well, it's back by the engine though. Maybe it's more of a
Yeah,
engineering.
and it kind of
thing.
makes sense for it to be off of the galley, so that
True.
if
The
you have
galley's right
multiple
here.
people need to talk.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Get near there anyway. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, in that room, but we're like the camera's pulling back out of that, like looking at you in there, kind of pacing, and that's fine. But you're nothing in that room, but it's all around the doorway on the outside are more of these things, and they're all moving left to right out in this room, heading towards the galley. And as we're following this following shot of these things, and kind of like as they seem to all kind of be uh, coming together at the doorway leading into the galley, the shot through the door into the galley is Kay sitting at the table, hands kind of on the table in sort of like a triangular, sort of a pyramid, sort of peaked fingers kind of thing, with the artifact kind of propped up in front of her, eyes kind of half closed and meditating, as all of these things are kind of congregating towards, through the ship towards where she is. As we're doing all the, just sort of the action around the ship, all that kind of stuff. Oh my God. So now, Kay, how about that attune roll? I think we've wound up the scene enough to get to the point and see what's kind of happening there.
Well, we still need to have the conversation about the risk and the.
Right. So the risk is, so right now what you have is way cockroaches that have found their way onto the ship from the hyperlanes that the ship is using to get over to the gate into the next system over. That is a known issue. It's not. I wouldn't say common, but certainly a thing that happens where you get like, you know, we need to come up with a clever name for space cockroaches, but they're basically, way space cockroaches. You get these kind of infestations. Some people swear by, exterminators. Some people swear by exorcism to get rid of them, that kind of thing. The risk is that the attunement, should it go awry, will embolden anger, enrage, or just generally complicate the matter by making them more of a threat. Does that work?
But then, so what is the? I mean, so what is the scope and the what are we talking about?
Position.
Oh, I see. So it's because your thing right now, I would actually say it's controlled. You're safe-ish, at least as far as you know. You're sitting in a ship. You're not about to be dropped on by the 51st Legion or anybody else. You're calm. Nobody's bugging you. Nobody's fiddling with you. Nobody's really worried about you. So as far as attuning goes, you're at peace. You're sitting in the galley, de-stressing. This is relaxing for you. You're the kind of person who's wired to get an endorphin hit as you begin, like, which is why the stress is already like, I get to sit, like, the first endorphin hit is when you boot up the MMO. It isn't even shooting something, it's just seeing that login screen. So I would say it's controlled and standard. Now what controlled does is mean that really things aren't going to go very badly even if you get like a 3-to-1 roll, 1-2-3 roll. It even so I gotta remember where that sheet's at. I managed to shock myself. That's great. If you look at the journal tab over in the over on the Roll20, where everybody's character sheets are. If you scroll down a bit, the little references thing called rules number 1 or rules 1. So controlled, a 6 is you do it. 4 to 5, you hesitate. You can withdraw, try a different approach, or you do it with minor consequences. Minor complication occurs. You reduced effect. You might suffer lesser harm. You might end up in you end up in a risky situation. A 1 to 3, so this is worst case scenario for a controlled thing. You're blocked or you falter. You can press on by seizing a risky opportunity, or just withdraw and try a different approach later, kind of thing. So things aren't going to get particularly bad, even if things go bad, because of the controlled deal. The result that you're aiming at is the sort of standard, typical results that you would get from the roll. So it's safe-ish, unless you decide to push it, or you say I'm looking for, I want to end up in a risky, I want to get what I want, but I end up in a risky position. That would be the kind of result that would sort of exacerbate the bug situation. There's lots of ways in a controlled situation for that not to happen. But regardless of that, the way creatures are converging, because it's a freaking artifact, and of course they are. I mean, this is like this is the bug zapper. This is the pan full of honey water. I mean, they're gonna come and check out this thing, regardless of whatever else happens. So that's not really about what you're doing as much as just what the thing is. Thoughts?
And then what is the scope on this? And there are 2 variables.
It's the controlled,
and
and then the scope is the standard. The scope is standard, like standard results for this kind of thing, as opposed to great or limited.
Effect.
Yeah, effect. That's what you're thinking of. Thank you. So yeah, effect is standard. Position is controlled. You can use.
I don't see a reason to push for this to be.
Unless you want to have some major breakthrough right here, and like your eyes go back in your head and start glowing, and you know.
Oh, go on.
Know the question that goes with the answer 42 or something. Nah, there's not really. I mean, you could push for.
There's no reason to push it to desperate, is what I'm saying.
Oh God, no.
Because I have benefits for pushing it desperate, but it doesn't seem like there's a reason to do that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, you're basically getting this is opening up the opportunity to get an attune roll simply because you're also, indulging your vice. And just from a narrative point of view, it seems weird to me for you to indulge your vice of investigating this artifact and not have you roll an attune roll.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I would want to make sure that we were clear on sort of what the position and the effect was.
Oh, for sure. And that's excellent. They're all good questions.
Controlled and standard.
Controlled and standard. You can roll the attune. You can, if you feel like, I don't know why you'd want to, you can push yourself to get extra dice, but you can just go with the 2 dice and be done with it.
I think we're perfectly happy with what I got there.
Oh, look at that. Very nice. So attune.
Oh, do I get something because of the 6?
The 6 is just an unmitigated success. If it were double 6s, it'd be a crit, and that would actually functionally push your standard success up a notch, something like that. But as it stands, it doesn't complicate things, which is great. Yeah, any PC can attune. It's not a rare supernatural gift or tied to bloodlines. How do you talked about this a little bit, but what does it look like, behind your eyelids, I guess, as you kind of open your mind to the way? Or actually, let me back up, because you kind of talked about this a little bit. The ship is currently, it isn't really engine power at this point in time. There's a jump. You've got your basic propulsion engines for the ship, like getting up out of gravity well, stuff like that. You have your jump drive. Jump drive lets you do 2 things in this system, which I actually kind of like. One is interact with the gates, so you can use the gates to go from system to system. The other one is, I almost think of it like a parasail that lets you catch the way lines that flow through the system or any system. So and flow along with it at speed, which is much faster than you can get through the system normally. There's still periods of time where you're not moving quickly through the systems because you're moving in the mundane space between one way line and the next, and kind of you need to catch the next wave. I can't help but think of like Finding Nemo when they're in like the jet line, the really fast flowing. It's like that, honestly, that really fast flowing thing, and you can get out of it. But you're kind of in this really fast flowing. I mean, they're called way lines for a reason. How does it feel? Is it harder, easier, dangerously easier to open, to kind of attune and relax into the way when you're in a way line and the ship's flowing along like this? Have you ever done this before like this? Or this is a new time? It's like, wow, this is like sucking cold air in right after I like bit down on a mint.
I would say that, you know, we're in a more concentrated way pathway, that it's easier to sort of achieve that you can see the way and you can, feel things around you. But because we're moving with the way, it's harder to see how the way is interacting with an object.
Oh, so the connection is easier, but there's like there's more interference, but it's easier to connect in the first place.
And so it's easier to connect, and you kind of like, can drop in more easily, see things more clearly, because it's sort of like, you have more power, if you will. They turn the gain up and you can, but because you're moving and the object's moving and you're in the way, then you're not necessarily seeing the pathways going to and from the object as clearly.
I see. Cool. I like it. No, it makes perfect sense to me. I like that a lot. So we can go with ask me a question about the artifact, or its relation to other artifacts or something, or that kind of thing, or at least temporarily solve the issue of the space roaches from this attune. Because the way you kind of opened up there, it's not like a crit kind of a deal, but you would be open up to the way. You would certainly sense these way creatures all around you. The question again, because of this big all the extra interference and the thing, it's like they may not matter that much to you right now.
Yeah.
Or maybe they do. It's like, you were about to do this and like, oh God, we've got a freaking roach infestation. But you're being surrounded by the way and having this artifact here, you can probably do something that like works like a bug bomb. Not necessarily to kill them, but like
Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw how effective that was on those African spiders.
But you could do something there as like, I was going to do something, but you know what? I can attune this thing later. Right now, I'm just going to use the fact that I'm attuned with the way to kind of like deal with this nonsense. Or you can, get some sort of insight into the artifact itself. What do you think?
I think that given my predilections, I'm more interested in the artifact, and I'll afterwards.
Okay. So at the bottom of your character sheet, there's some gather information questions, more as a prompt than anything else. You certainly don't have to stick to those. Or you could ask something about. I mean, the Aleph key is supposed to be part of a, matched set.
Do we know that it's actually attached to the Hama gate? I mean, do we know?
There's a whole.
Is that established?
Is this actually a gate? Is this actually a gate-related artifact? There's a ton of questions. Is this actually a gate-related artifact? Is this actually, are there brothers and sisters out there? What kind of energy is this for? Some sort of like Oh God, there's like the old psychic, like the old um, psychic abilities from D&D where you could do like item augury kind of things to like,
Right.
who's touched this in the past? What is it used for? That kind, I cast level 1 magical identification on the object to find out whether or not it's a +1 or +2 dagger. Whatever. Kind of you can do an identify on it, kind of a deal. Learn more about it. You know, uh, point me in the general direction. I'll give you something. It's a 6, so
I mean, I think there's two main things. One is just sort of the whole, obviously the whole point of this is to understand more about it. But then, the other side of me is thinking that it's supposedly part of a set. Can I identify what's unique about it so that it would help us, locate others like it?
oh, okay.
So, yeah,
So,
so sort of a how can I find, but also sort of, you know,
like like in an attune sense, or clues to look for kind of thing. Like, which are you thinking of? Like, how do I make myself a mental Geiger counter for this thing, or more of what indicators should
I'm
I?
sort of thinking about it's like sort of the classic, how does Batman or how did the Avengers, find the unique artifact is by, identifying that it has traces of special adium, that they can then,
Special idiom.
search for. Is it, is it something that I can see on the way that how the way reacts with it? Um, or is it something else about this which means that I can either quickly recognize or kind of be drawn towards where others would be?
Okay.
Titanium.
Unobtainium. Yeah. I like special idiom. That's pretty good. Let me. I didn't know what we were going to end up doing there. So I'm going to think about that.
No, you can ponder. You got
you're
other things to do.
you're going to get the answer there.
And I'll deal with the bugs afterwards.
Yeah. Well, and
Because,
yeah,
they're just bugs.
there's bugs certainly to be.
Bugs, Mr. Rico. Zillions of them.
Zillions of them. Okay, so
Like, just get out the big hammer, get out the big croquet mallet. That's why I said I love skulls. Out the croquet mallet and start, smashing the bugs.
very, very cool. I've got. Sorry, Mike. You distracted me by posting up a picture of Alloy, which is blowing my mind.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see the bugs.
I was gonna
picture
I was
of
gonna
skull.
bug you about that after the
Oh,
game.
right. All right. Yeah.
It's very cool. Sorry, you just distracted me there. Anyway, all right. So, that is a thing. So you're in the middle of this tune. You don't really keep track of how long you're really kind of doing this attune, but but when you kind of come up out of it and look like around you in the galley, like after you kind of blink, it's like, okay, all right, we got something we can do. You kind of look around and it's like the lighting in the room is really weird, and the walls are like lined, and the ceilings and stuff. You've got these cockroaches are everywhere on the ceilings. No, none on the floor. Weirdly, ceilings and walls. I don't know if you've ever actually been on a ship that's had this kind of thing, but you've certainly heard about it in the past, as common. It's like not all way creatures are glorious, wonderful things. And you're about to I don't know, say something on comms, do something. You're just kind of for a minute, just kind of taking in the idea that kind of taking in the idea that this is happening, and what should you do next? And right about that, apparently you've been doing this like in this like attunement for a while, because right about then is like the lights kind of all go into, I guess, travel mode. The lights in the cockpit will dim, kind of thing, as Drifter activates the jump drive interaction with the gate.
Okay.
So all the lights kind of dim in the ship, but simultaneously all the bugs in the room get a lot brighter.
Because we're going through a gate.
Yeah, going through a gate.
Tasty.
Yeah, they're a lot less interested in the artifact right now because you are going through an artifact that's approximately 20 or 30 kilometers across or more. I still have to get the scale down, but they're big. And they can take the biggest ships, way bigger than the biggest ships that anybody's tried to build or get working at this point in time. So Drifter, as you are hitting the jump gate, everything's fine, perfectly nominal. The gate activates. For those of you who have played EVE, you know what the gate activation basically looks like because it's the only one I'm going to be able to manage, certainly. As space kind of stretches around you and you get kind of aligned, the gate kind of aligns you and, slides you in the gate. Very drama-free, very simple. And then pretty much every LED and panel light in the cockpit goes out at once. So it's a rather unique feeling because for a minute with no lights in here except for what's showing up through the cockpit, it's really like you're out in space and racing down through the tunnel of the gate. What do you do?
Try not to panic.
I mean, so you probably do, assuming you don't shriek like a little girl, you probably get that far. And guys, kind of pretty much everywhere throughout the ship, but starting with either end. So depending on where you're at, the lights are kind of going out. Son, where do you kind of hole up with like your books and stuff? Are you like in one of the cargo bays or what?
One second.
You got
Looking at
the
the
map. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was where Armin was like doing his schmoozing. There's a lot of undefined spaces back here that we haven't specifically said. Like, there's lots of nooks and crannies. It's just a question of where you're nook and crannied up, honestly. I mean, do you just pile? Can I just say how hilarious it would be if you basically like, sort of camped in one of the escape pods? Like, just books and stuff and just kind of turned it into sort of a nest. I mean,
Actually, yeah.
is that kind of awesome? I sort of love that. Just,
I'm sure someone would have mutterings about what if we actually need it.
Well, yeah. I mean,
In which case, it comes, pre-stocked.
Isn't it great that, yeah, all my stuff is going to be in this one, so at least whoever's going to be in here is going to have all my stuff. I would like to be in here. In the event of an emergency, you are ready to go. Literally ready to go. So yeah, so you're kind of in. So yeah, in the escape pods, probably there's emergency lighting and power in there, so it doesn't completely go dark. You do sense that it goes out somewhere. When the gates activate, Monster, where are you? You were creeping about, but where are you creeping about at?
I was going to be creeping towards the galley because.
From the front or the back?
Oh, for Lord's sake!
I'm just curious if you're coming from like, are you creeping past, the space where you can hear Armin like, no, we're about to go through the gate. I'm going to lose you. I will pick you up after we're. Like, oh my God, why are you making this so? Are you creeping past that or more of the silence from the back of the ship kind of a thing?
I'm gonna from more towards the back of the ship.
Okay. Either through the hallways coming from the side here or from one of the cargo bays. Yeah. Something like
Yeah.
one, but in some cases,
I mean, the point is both to kind of practice for myself, but also to kind of like see if I can sneak up on people.
yeah. Okay. Excellent. And Armin, you're obviously you're wrapping up the thing, and you're expecting the call to drop. You're expecting the power to shift to gate mode. You're not expecting everything to go dark. Which is what happens. I mean, Drifter, you're the one who's like most probably immediately near a comms thing or something like that, but really any of you guys could call out or do something. So what does anybody do in this situation? Monster, the first thing, Monster seems to be the one who keeps stumbling on something that looks like Kay's doing something bad. Like Kay's opening up the case. Kay's sitting in the galley with the artifact in front of her, surrounded by glowing way bugs.
As all the power goes off.
As all the power goes off. So Monster, you kind of like slowly slide through the open thing, and the room is the ship is dark, but the room is glowing, and Kay's kind of looking around, going, "All right."
It's never happened before.
Still kind of coming out of the attunement thing. So, kind of that weird kind of blinking, just woke up abruptly kind of, sleep puffiness kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Returning to your body feeling.
what does anybody do? Monster, what do you do?
I am going to
Thermite grenade? We had a galley. I missed that galley.
I'm going to skip the stealth stuff.
Yeah.
At the moment. Well, actually, if Kay looks like she's still out of it, maybe I will try to be stealthy enough to get up to the table.
Half
up the
out of it.
Okay.
But,
what I want to do is I want to go over, pick up the artifact, and put it back in the freaking case.
Which is right there.
While keeping an eye on Kay and the bugs.
None of them seem to react. They're all just like on the wall and sort of pulsing, like.
We can make bug soup.
They're not they're not perfect.
It is National Homemade Soup Day.
It's really.
Honest to God.
If they're not pulsing in unison, they're pulsing in kind of a wave, so it's kind of a front to back sort of wave effect from like sort of a whoosh, kind of like through the room kind of a thing, which makes it feel a little bit like the room's sort of in motion, just because the light's kind of like starting from the front and pulsing through the back.
So what do we actually know about way cockroaches?
It's these guys are. I mean, they interfere with ship systems. I mean, spoilers. They interfere with ship systems. They tend to move in swarms like starling murmurations and stuff like that through way lines out in space. They'll attach themselves to ships where they detect act like really highly active. Usually, nobody's 100% sure on this, but like bigger ships tend to attract their attention more, presumably because the jump drives are more powerful or are pulling more juice or something like that. So they decide to latch onto the ship because they're and they tend to then gravitate towards the jump drives and stuff like that. They love when the jump drives are like hyperactive. So there's a lot of stories about how they react going through jump gates, so that they don't tend to hang around the jump gates themselves, which is weird. They stay near the way line, but then again, way lines almost never directly intersect with jump gates. So they're attracted to other types of way energy as sort of a feeding mechanism. They're not generally hostile to living critters, but they are attracted to way activity. So mystics tend to have more of a problem with them than other people. Just because they tend to be like in a nuisance sense. It's like the one person in the room who's allergic to cats has the one with cats all over him, kind of a deal. Way people are mystics and stuff will report getting like nauseous and kind of feeling sick around them and stuff like that. Vertigo, that kind of deal. You're not getting any of that right now, but you're also not too. You're kind of blinking up out of it and whatever. They may be here because of the artifact, but they're not reacting to the artifact now at all. They're not really even moving, honestly, except for the fact that they're luminescing. And also, it seems like all the power in the ship went out, or at least a lot of
Okay,
it.
so here's what we do on the dig sites.
You don't
Okay.
you don't often find, well, I shouldn't say it. You don't often find these kinds of things terrestrially. They're more space active. You get maybe variations or cousins or something like that that look a little bit different. You don't usually get the glowing ones on site, but you do get dig sites commonly have to deal with way creatures that are just attracted to artifacts or artifacts. and stuff.
So here's my pure way of dealing with these things. Like you say, lots of people have different ways that they think they should be dealt with.
Okay.
Okay, so my approach is sort of like burning the elephant dung to get rid of the tsetse flies,
I'm rubbing my eyes and my temples right now.
which
Okay.
actually works. But I've tried to think of, something equivalent on the ship or that's common everywhere. And the only thing I can think of right now is something really obnoxious like, diesel fumes kind of a thing, or like how you take care of ants is that you cover them with soap because they can't breathe because they breathe
Right.
through their skin, something like that not necessarily is going to be effective, right? I'm not saying this is going to be like the cure for this, but I'm saying that this is what he's done in
like,
the past.
You get
that's
the
his immediate response.
You get the hornet nest to go kind of dormant by like smoke, or well, this is what my dad used to deal with. You get like a diesel soaked rag and wrap it around the nest, and that makes them quiet enough that you can get the nest down and like do something with it. That's an interesting thing. My first thing I leap to is something with like the fuel mixtures that Drifter was talking about earlier. Like some kind of, that the sort of I mean, I would imagine certainly toxic at certain levels, fumes off of those things, certainly as they mix. So something like that.
I'm thinking like something that would be common enough that we would have it on a field site.
So
just other power signatures of some sort.
Other power signatures on this ship.
Charge the hull.
On this ship, that's probably one of the first things. Let's cut to. There's a moment of you guys kind of looking at these things, going, "Oh,
it's like, God damn, we've got bugs."
Yeah, and then cut to kind of all of you guys kind of uncomfortably crammed in the cockpit. Or like not the cockpit, the room just north of the just north of the galley there. So you're kind of like looking in. The rooms are all still dark. Like a couple of you have like hand lamps. That room is pulsing, so you get that like through one of the doors. But everything else is basically dead. And you guys kind of in this room going, kind of looking in there and then going back and trying to figure out what to do. So thoughts. You're all in the same place. The fuel thing might work. Kay has voiced again off screen her theory as to like what we've done with these kinds of things when they get attracted to stuff in the past. Ideas? I mean, Drifter might have like run it. I mean, certainly he's the pilot.
I
so
think
he might
that
have run this
everybody
stuff.
should have their own like home
I love
cure
that.
for this. It's like, well, how do you get the tick off the dog? Well, you need to do this, or you need to do that. Oh, no, this
Rubbing
is the best way
alcohol.
to do
No, they
it.
don't like
Tomato
honey.
juice.
Yeah, tomato juice. They don't like honey. Why wouldn't they like honey? That doesn't make any sense. Well, why would rubbing alcohol bother them? Any of that kind of stuff. No, I like that.
You just call the dealership and they send a person over and they deal with it.
Which is 100%
That is definitely the
Armin.
Armin way. Yeah.
Yes, that is 100% Armin. You pay somebody. Do you know how much I make an hour? I make enough so I can pay somebody else to get paid less per hour to take care of this problem.
I am, in all seriousness, going to say that's probably the case, and here's why. You had an entire civilization, built out of these artifacts. That's where these came from.
Yeah.
That civilization, I don't think, put up with a bunch of bugs, hovering like moths around their lamps all the day. They had some kind of solution. So somebody knows that solution, probably is selling it. And these artifacts get shipped around, and you have these stargates, which are powered by the same thing, right? Like
Yeah. And
these
they
things are attracted to the star.
Are
How
you
did the
looking
stargates
for
get completed?
the person who sells the mothballs?
And it isn't just
Yeah,
it isn't just artifacts
zappers.
that it isn't purely just simply artifacts that attract them, because if it were, the gates would be swarming with these things because they're out in space, and they
Yeah,
don't come
but-
near the gates. So
but maybe they would if the people who run the gates weren't doing something. That's where I'm going.
Oh, right, because there's usually like the what's the guild that runs the gates that sort of maintains them and stuff? Crap.
The
Engineering
Starfarer
Guild?
Starfarer Guild. It's not. No, the engineers are the ones that make the ships, which would be, I'm sure they got similar things. Starfarer's Guild.
So they've got something, either some chemical or some, formula that they feed into their warp generators or whatever.
Sure.
That keeps these things away.
Okay.
And so that's one of their big trade secrets, or everybody kind of knows about it, but you're not supposed to use it unless you pay the licensing fees or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
So I'm gonna suggest something like that exists.
Okay. I am. We have done. Let me go here. I gotta see what Dave. I don't think I did hear what you said. Can't help it. It's so beautiful.
No, I've been cutting out some all night.
Mimmoth. God. Sorry about that, James.
That's all good.
Okay, so there's going to be guys. So the for drifters, thought here would be wait until we get spat out the other end of the gate. There's going to be some people there. We can contact them and say, listen, we have a problem. We need some help with here. We need a bug. We need to deal with this. You need a solution here. We need to work on this. That is a nice gift there of them shooting. Oh, I remember that episode of the Star Trek. Oh my God. I remember that
Operation
episode.
Annihilate.
Yikes. So, the idea there would be try to finagle some help from those guys, or at least get your, to the point where your ship can limp along, and get back, get down on the station, and get a proper exorcism, whatever that happens to be. But yeah, you're right. They probably do have a solution for that. So yeah, Armin makes sort of makes that comment. It's like there's people that you can order them out, and Drifter's like actually, which I kind of like because Monster's like I could eat them.
Maybe not. Fake creatures.
So
yeah.
I think. One sec. Sorry, I just had to deal with a little bit of bedtime stuff there. Sorry about that, guys. So I feel like, not to jump right to it or something like that, it feels like, what would that be to like help, like get a hold of these guys and do like I feel like it's sort of a sway thing. Like, hey guys, can we get some help, make a little deal here, kind of a deal? Does that seem like
Yeah.
kind of a deal?
Yeah.
It seems appropriate. It's also not half because Armin's like, you just call these guys. We work out a deal. We don't have any money right now, but we can work out something.
We don't have large amounts of money.
You don't have a large lot. Yeah, you don't have large amounts of money, but this is a pretty simple. I'll take it down and charge it. Yeah. All right. You don't have large amounts of money. So why don't we do a sway roll when we pop out of the gate and say, guys, we have got space crabs.
I am down for that.
All right.
Let's
So
have some penicillin.
can we?
I want to offer the devil's bargain that nobody asks for this unless they're carrying something that would attract these creatures. So now those guys suspect us.
Ooh, I like that. But I'm
Yeah,
not
I
the
don't
one who
want
has
more
to.
heat.
No, this wouldn't be a heat thing. This would be a. This isn't really a heat thing.
Would this influence that particular guild in our relationship?
Yes.
Well,
I
I
don't.
don't want that.
I don't think it would. It wouldn't move their number, but it would leave the guild. It would.
But it's just a future hook
Spacer guilds noting
of hooks.
you have, kind of and
of crabs.
I mean, the guild that makes space gates being interested in whatever artifact you might have on the ship, to me sounds like rich story meat. But again, I'm not the one rolling, and Armin needs to accept the devil's bargain. So
Yeah, I'll do that.
yeah. Okay. So we got a devil's bargain. That'll get you up to, what's your sway? Is it sway?
Does anybody want to assist?
I can assist.
All right.
All right. So you take one stress, but you were low. So you assist on that.
We have
How-
gambits too, because remember I start off
risky
with
is
extra
this?
gambits.
Yeah. Where do the gambits sit right now? Because is it
They reset for the job.
Yeah. So they haven't reset yet. We tapped out when we left the planet.
Okay.
Yeah. The last one was we used the last one. It was all on that one. The last session getting up off the planet. We kind of tapped it out. But that's still 3. I think three's pretty good. How do you feel about 3? Unless you want to push for stress, Armin. You're kind of high on stress though, because you haven't had a chance to do
I was about to say this is gonna be 4.
This is gonna be 4. Oh, right, because
Devil's
you have the
Bargain.
right devil's bargain plus the assist. Sure,
Uh-huh.
sure. So now the
controlled, risky.
this is I'm gonna say this is controlled. This is a thing that happens, and it's
Right.
standard.
Standard. Okay.
Result. So controlled standard. It's not that big of an infestation, honestly, to worry about. They're at the same potency level as you, or whatever. So, and you got your 6. So
I
it's
want them to owe me money at the end of this job.
Now the devil's bargain, if I understand it, that's not like a consequences thing where you say if you roll a 4 or 5 this. Devil's bargain
No.
just happens.
Devil bargains just happen, so
They're definitely going to know that something was attracting these things. That's probably certain. And
Yeah.
these
in
guys.
my mind,
Yeah.
I was supposed to, in my mind, this is like a check on a clock.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, that's
somebody finding out stuff.
I will probably, because this clock is going to be probably pretty simplistic or something like that. And there's a few factions that already kind of have rumors going around like the Aleph case been found, the Aleph case been found, the Aleph case been found. Who got it? Who didn't get it? Blah, blah, blah. That kind of thing. Add that to this, and it's probably like I'm going to say it's like a 4 o'clock with like two boxes ticked or something like that, where they're like, there was a lot of murmuring going on in the Rin system, and then that one ship that had the bugs all over it came out of the Rin system like 17 hours later. And there's definitely some, and they probably keep a log of anybody who's probably carrying artifacts is like a likely thing anyway. So yeah, well, does that sound right about like 2 ticks on like a 4 o'clock? I need to start that. Is that sounds about right? I wouldn't do 3. 3's a little high, but Let me grab the ship real quick. And
Also,
yes, sir.
do you still want me to make those clocks for you?
Yeah, I totally do.
Make me a GM for the game.
I will do
I'll
that.
set those in.
I will do that. Not at this. I will do it when we're done because I think I can't do it. Can I do it? I think I need to do it outside of the game.
I don't know how you do it.
I don't know how I do it either. I can't remember how I did it last time. I think I have to go into like the game settings and pick people or something. Because like if I do, I can't like click on you and do anything in here. So I think there's something I probably have to do. I can't remember how I did it with Dave and Bill last time. Progress, 2 ticks on the 4 o'clock. I will put it on the ship sheet for now. They have a thing. They send out a couple of drones that do sort of an electromagnetic. Actually, they do something. The bugs rather quickly file through cracks that it's kind of disturbing probably exist in the ship. Honestly, the fact that they can get in and out of the ship is weird. It's a vacuum sealed vessel. They should not be able to get in and out of the ship, and they do. You can watch them fly off, and as they're actually the ship's kind of starts to come a little bit online a little bit while you guys are talking because the bugs become less active. But basically, as they're exiting the ship is basically coming online and stuff like that, and you can see them sort of filing off into space. And also, like they can't be drawn towards the gate; they're heading away from that. You can't help but notice probably a drifter in the general direction of the nearest way line. Once they're pulled far enough away, they sort of, veer off from these drones and head towards the nearest way line. It is late. What I'm planning on doing for next session is we will just immediately and unceremoniously start on Indri. We will start near the bar / DOS down location on Indri, let you guys finish up your downtime stuff, and we can jump immediately into other things. Free play, figuring out what your guys are going to do next. And I believe, did we do all this? I think we did all the downtime stuff except for letting you guys actually do your other downtime activities. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you've each I think you've each got one free downtime thing. Some of you may additionally have one that's given to you as a result of your whatever playbook you've got. And we will go through that stuff. Monster, where do you put the artifact? And do you try to put it someplace without people knowing where it got put?
Well, I mean, for the immediate,
I keep thinking of
period
Jaeger
of
monsters
time.
like just like dealing with Jaeger monsters dealing with sparks. Occasionally they just go, I must have misplaced it. I'm sure we'll find it in a few days once you stop acting crazy.
Yeah. I think sort of initially as we're doing stuff and huddling in the room away from the bugs, I just kind of keep a tight grasp on the case.
Okay, that's fair.
After that,
He thinks it makes nice pillow.
yeah, maybe I'm just gonna hold on to it. Just kind of holding on to the case.
Okay.
I don't see a need to hide it because who's gonna take it from me?
That is an excellent point. That's an excellent point. I love it. Okay. All right. All right. Unless somebody else had something else, I'm gonna run through the XP checks here at the end and that kind of stuff. So I apologize. I don't really apologize. The beginning of these games, it is what it is. Going through the downtime for the first time and also like sort of learning some more stuff about the ship and everything like that. I liked all the color stuff and things like that. So I'm actually really happy with what got down. I just wish we could have gotten just a little bit further, but that's my own fault probably. Shall we proceed through XP stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm waiting for my sheets to come up because God.
If we start with the start answer, I think the only thing we might have gotten: press the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew.
Yep, we'll check that one. Goals, drives, inner
'Cause-
conflict, essential nature of the crew. Because that was the whole point, the essential nature of the crew. You guys in space, what do you do when you're in space? Which I loved. I love that kind of color. I like knowing that stuff about you guys. We don't. This is the only thing that's been felt weird to me. The only thing that's felt weird to me about this crew is I don't have a really clear picture yet in my head exactly of how. There's bits of how we came together, but like I know how Armin got the ship. I know why Drifter's piloting it, but how do you guys? Where did some of this stuff? How did you guys come together? And it's interesting to me at least to see if we don't know how you came together, at least how you are together. And that's interesting to me. I will say it's not quite like that, but there's a hint of the Jaeger monster sort of chaperoning the spark with K and Monster that I kind of like. Not that she's a spark, but just that occasionally she makes questionable decisions when it comes to her artifacts. So that was the ship. I'm just going down through the list of characters. So how about Armin? Let me get that guy open if it ever opens up. My God, this thing lags. You addressed a tough challenge with deception or influence. No.
that.
You did? Tough
Yeah, well,
challenge?
Not tough challenge.
No, it wasn't a tough challenge. I'm not going to say it's a tough challenge. You expressed your beliefs, your drives, your heritage, your background. Yes.
I did that many times.
You did that many times. Take two. Because I love the color of you calling up the person and how you're kind of schmoozing, but also I like to just call somebody and have them do the thing. Like have them take care of it.
That's what you do.
You did not struggle with issues from your vice or drama, but take two from the expressing beliefs or whatever. Take those in there. Let's get to Bay. If it opens, I apologize for the lag. First, it has to give me a warning about LastPass blocking the character sheets. Charm or Audacity. You addressed a tough challenge with Charm or Audacity. No. You expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, background. Yes. You struggled with issues from your vice or traumas during a session. You did not struggle. It didn't end up biting you in the ass, so that's probably just fine. But you express your beliefs, drives, and heritage background. You have a lot of XP built up.
I'm the only one that didn't pay for an up.
That's
'cause
true.
I didn't train.
Were you so inclined?
Could up now.
Yeah, you could feed into. What happens when your whole playbook advancement? Can you use those XP just without being funneled into the stats? That's how you. That's how you buy the special.
That's how you get your special abilities.
Yeah, so if you fill the bar all the way up, you can buy the special abilities, or you can feed it into any of your stats really at this point in time and raise one of your skills if you were so inclined. I will leave that as an exercise to the player, but the options there. If you're gunning for those special abilities, you're very close. Drifter. Can I just say, regardless of whatever this means to the XP or anything like that, I love the background of that whole like fuel mixing thing and customizing it to the ship and that background and stuff. It's good stuff. So, if nothing else, express your beliefs, drives, heritage, and background. Actually, I'm doing that twice because the background stuff was great. We learned more about how the ships kind of go, which I think is fantastic. And I was actually surprised by and therefore think it's worth XP for that whole like, no, actually Armin's right. I mean, there's people, these guys, we don't know what the secret is, but we know they've got to have secrets for keeping these guys, for handling these kinds of infestations and stuff like that. And just kind of, because I was not expecting that and I learned something new and that's good for me.
I like to think it put the whole archaeology situation in a new light. Like this is really important. It does affect interstellar civilization.
Nobody fully understands artifacts, but some factions know a lot about how to use them in ways that they want to use them. They may be misusing them, but they're reliably getting intended effects.
I
You
believe
know.
that is more accurately rephrased as that nobody really knows how any of them really work, but a lot of people like to believe they do.
Yeah, that's fair.
So the gods must be crazy, but we found a lot of uses for this Coke can, none of which are drinking Coke, but that's fine.
There's an operational science going on here where they know if you do this thing happens. So if you're doing stuff with these artifacts, these bugs start to accumulate, and there's things you could do to do that. You don't know why. Why is it that they don't like the smell of cinnamon? I don't know, but it works.
The hegemony is largely a really, really super sophisticated interstellar cargo cult that happens to work.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. We didn't have any tough challenges.
If it works, it's not really a cargo cult.
Yeah, it's true. Addressed a tough challenge with speeder. Well, they say way cults. Can you really call them cults when they can legitimately do stuff? And we did not struggle with issues from Vice or traumas during the session. But 2 for the Beliefs Drives Heritage stuff, please. And thank you. I appreciate that. It's a lot of good stuff there. Monster. Long pause here.
Where'd it go?
We didn't do force or threats.
No.
Express your beliefs, drives. We'll get there. I swear to God, I'll let you punch somebody next time. We're gonna be on a planet. There's people on planets. You can hit them. You express stuff challenges. You express your beliefs, drives, heritage, your background. I
want to bring your attention to the cutscene stuff that he's been writing on forums as well.
Yes. I feel like there's at least one in game and at least one out of game, and simply because I don't generally want to go like, okay, well, you guys have been writing stuff, so let's have extra review. But I've been robbing you of most of your monster opportunities for the last like 2 sessions, so I want to kind of acknowledge that and say, let's have you have 2 for your backgrounds and stuff like that, because we didn't hit you with Vice or traumas and we didn't get you to force or threats, but.
Well, I think kind of. His.
And once I get you planet side, boy, I'm getting some of that stuff that you wrote and spooling it back out. So.
Okay.
Take your XP.
Okay.
Which I am totally. Hopefully everybody else is okay with that as well. I'm not trying to.
I too want to see this man punch a person.
Yes. Even better if Armin gets to pick who he punches. I think that would probably be an ideal result for Mike all the way around.
I mean, it's also interesting if I don't get to pick, or specifically don't want him to punch that person.
No, yeah, I like. No, I was gonna make a deal with him. Insider okay, I'm looking at Sun now. You express your beliefs, drives, heritage. I feel like a lot of stuff that we learned from like how you guys are training. I just like that stuff. And this is the first time that we've seen it, so I kind of like that. Beliefs, drives, heritage, background. So I'm just I like the idea of seeing you studying notes that you took on your patients to learn about how they did stuff, as a way of justifying that core move of the stitch, which is great. I like seeing all that. So take an XP for that. Into your playbook advancement. I am not clicking on that, so if you don't click on it, it's not going to get clicked. But that gives you 5, which is nice. Honestly, actually, if you really were gung-ho about insight, I think you've got enough points to file up into insight and actually fill that thing if you wanted to raise one of your is it skills? They call them skills? Anyway, one of your skills under insight could be raised if you took all of your points from playbook advancement and moved them up into insight. You'd have that bar fill if you were so inclined. Son.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Think about it. You do you. That's all good. And with that, we will start up next session, like basically cut right into the bar, figure out what you guys did for downtimes, for your other downtime activities, see how that goes, and then we will see what's going on. As you talk with your good friends, like the bartender, or possibly getting your fixer on the line, or any of those things. Cool. thank you guys for your patience last week. I don't think next Monday is weird. This is always the worst part of the year because my wife's traveling a lot, so I kind of have to adjust for weird schedule stuff and things like that. So I appreciate everybody's forgiveness and flexibility last week because I actually had a weird thing happen right at the last minute where we swapped things around. So I did kind of have the evening open, but I felt like such unmitigated crap that I was like, no, I think I went to bed at basically I put the little kids to bed and I think I went to bed at like 7:45, and slept until the next morning without any break whatsoever because I was just not at my best. So just as well you didn't have me running a game. Thanks so much. And we're back at it, which is great. Cool. Everybody's being really quiet. Makes me nervous.
No, there's just a lot going on here. So
Okay, all right. And you're probably pretty close to about that time that you got to go run and do an errand if it's one of those nights where you have to.
Oh no, everybody's home today because it snowed in Seattle and there was like 6 inches of snow. The reason I was late, in fact, was I went to run errands for people at like 5:45 and I got back at 7:15.
Yikes!
It was pretty bad out there.
Yeah, we had some. I've certainly had some trips around the city that took a little bit longer than, but I think Denver probably got off easier than most of the country.
Yeah.
As far as the weather.
We're gonna get the weather that the West Coast got on Wednesday,
Okay, note this
and
up.
that James got today and over the weekend.
You mean that I've been having like
What was
all
that?
week?
What was
Rain.
a lot of rain.
It's been raining.
2 inches,
like
2 inches
crazy.
of rain in the LA area.
Yikes!
LA's at like
winter storm warning.
Jeez.
right, but they're already at like 200 to 400% over.
Normal precipitation.
Yeah.
Yikes. Oh. That's a.
And let me tell you, nothing here knows how to handle rain. The soil doesn't. The people don't. The concrete. There's just puddles. The grass turns into a rice field.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone in California knowing what getting water for free is like.
That's fair. Denver's
like-
pretty good at it until you get one of those really torrential downpours and you realize that the storm drains are not built for like a lot of rain. You get,
But at least we've got code to like capture.
yes,
when you're doing properties to like capture water on the property. California doesn't have that. You see the pictures of the LA area rivers, and they're all just like these concrete lined, chutes
bunkers.
Because they've been designed to carry away water rather than flood the entire place whenever it rains.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Historically, not so much now.
I didn't know the rain was coming. That's interesting. I wonder what it's going to be like up in the mountains.
And it's actually supposed to get cold on the West Coast, so that because they were getting for California, they were getting seriously deep snow in the mountains, and it's supposed to get cold enough. I think tonight they may even get like at like sea level at the beach in some of the Northern California spots.
That is nuts.
Yeah, lots of rain. Also, it has a sense of humor, so it starts to really rain around times when classes end / other classes start, which I find hilarious. I was smart and brought my umbrella, but I wasn't wearing my most waterproof shoes because I was forgetting that the concrete, you just end up with rivers running across the concrete.
That's
and
crazy.
so I had tennis shoes on, and then on my way to lunch, they got soaked, so I stopped by my dorm room to change, and I figured my feet and pants were wet enough that I just put on sandals.
Oh my god.
It worked. Worked?
Yeah, worked, question mark.
No, it really did. It was much better.
God. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for this. I'm so glad to be getting back into this. I've been very curious to see how this thing is going to actually go. I look forward to finding out what we find out on injury and all this kind of stuff and getting into what might be a regular cycle of the Scum and Villainy life cycle of things and activities and stuff like that, done in the proper order and everything.
Woohoo!
Who knows what that might be like? Thanks again. Thanks so much, guys. And if you have any thoughts or requests, stuff that's like, man, I'm really hoping to see X. I really want to punch this particular person. Any of that kind of stuff. Please do let me know, and we will make that happen. All right. Good night, all.
Good night.
Night, guys.
Joyce.